Sorry, I was just doing a little light reading. These are the Brambleton HOA documents. What is an HOA? Welcome to Coffee with Kelly. So what is an HOA? Well, if you are just moving to Northern Virginia, or even if you live in Northern Virginia, you may not be familiar with HOAs. HOAs are essentially homeowner association. And it's a private-like association that is typically set up by the developer when they are first building a new community. And they will be the ones who are responsible for running that association until a certain number of homes have been sold within that community, and then that association will actually be transferred over to the homeowners. So why do HOAs get a bad rap sometimes? Well, I assume that typically has to do with either somebody who has had a negative interaction with an HOA over a rule or a regulation, or maybe because there's a misunderstanding of what an HOA is. So I'm hopeful that I can shed some light on that today, because there are a lot of really great things about living in an HOA. I live in Brambleton, and for example, we have a lot of amenities that are provided by the HOA Association. We have numerous community pools, we have tennis courts, walking paths, basketball courts, we even have a sand volleyball court. In addition, they help to make sure to maintain all of the common areas so that the grass stays mowed, the bushes stay trimmed, and everything continues to look as beautiful as it did when they initially built the community. They also provide services based on the type of home that you live in. So for example, in Brambleton, some of the townhouses actually have their lawn service and all of their mulching provided by the HOA. So that all sounds really nice, right? So why would there be any negative feelings towards an HOA? Well, as part of an HOA, there are certain rules and regulations that you need to follow, which are all typically outlined in at least an inch, if not 3 inches, full of paper. And as you read through those, they have things in there like, what type of fence can you put in? Can you put in a privacy fence, or can you put in a 5-foot iron fence? Where can the fence be located? Does it need to be only in the back of your property, or can you also put the fence in the front of your property? What days can you pull the garbage cans out? And can you have them sitting out there for several days before the garbage service comes? Can you have piles of stuff sitting in your driveway that are unsightly, right? They want to try to manage that so that the community stays beautiful. Now, there's something really nice about that, because then when you drive through the community, you say, oh gosh, I love this just as much as the day that I moved in here. But you do need to follow those rules and regulations, right? Do you have to be a part of an HOA if you buy a home that is within an HOA community? Yes, you do. You don't have the option. If you are going to buy a house that sits within the Brambleton HOA or the Ashburn Village HOA or the Ashburn Farm HOA, you automatically must become a member and a part of that homeowners association. Now, how do you know if you like the rules and regulations? How do you know if you can live with those? Well, the good news is in the state of Virginia, you as a buyer have 3 days to review those documents. Now, they typically don't come in paper format like that, but you can request them in paper format if you want, and then do some light reading at night when you're having a hard time falling asleep. But in all seriousness, they usually come in an electronic file, and you have 3 days to go through and review it and make sure that there's no deal breakers in there. Now, what if there is a deal breaker? What if you wanted to put in a privacy fence and that was really important to you, and you can only put in that 5-foot iron fence? Well, you can void the contract. You can void the contract by just saying, I don't like the HOA documents. I don't like the rules of this particular HOA. The contract gets void, you give back your earnest money deposit, and you move on. Now, as a seller, you may be saying, that sounds really risky. Are you kidding me? I just spent all of this time negotiating, coming up with the terms of the contract. I'm feeling so excited that I have this buyer who loves the house as much as I do. And you're telling me they have 3 days in which to read those rules and they could void? They do. So what can you do to make sure that you get ahead of that? Well, what I suggest to my sellers is that they order those HOA docs when they know that they are going to go on the market, not the day that they actually go on the market, and certainly not the day that they actually get a contract, but weeks ahead, so that when you do get a contract and you have negotiated, you have a ratified contract in place, you can immediately take those documents, pass them over to the buyer's agent, pass them over to the buyers, and that 3-day clock starts then. And typically, people are really excited right within those 3 days. And if there isn't some sort of deal breaker in there, they are going to move forward with the contract. Now, if you wait until day 15, 16, 17, and your buyers just woke up and changed their mind, decided that they no longer wanted to buy the house, and they still haven't received the HOA docs, and now they have 3 days, guess what? They can void the contract based on those HOA docs. So don't wait. Order them immediately. The other important part about ordering them is that part of ordering the HOA resale package also includes the HOA coming and doing a physical exterior inspection of your house, making sure that you don't have any current violations. What could be a current violation? Well, if you have cement steps leading up to your house and you haven't power washed them in years and there's algae and stuff growing on them, they're probably going to tell you that you need to wash those before you actually close on your home. Or let's say that you decided to put a deck on the back of your house, but you didn't actually submit your plans to the HOA and get their approval. They're going to say to you, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you need to submit that application now, and we're going to review it. Hopefully, we're going to go ahead and say that it is now approved and you no longer have a violation. So again, the further you get ahead of that before you put your house on the market, the more time you have to go ahead and address those violations before you get to settlement. As a buyer, what if there are violations? How can you make sure that they've been addressed? Well, you can have your agent ask for a cure letter, which basically means that those violations have been cured or have been corrected, and that the HOA has come out and done a re-inspection to make sure that all those violations are now a thing of the past, and they will issue you a letter saying, all clear, good to go. So hopefully this gives you a little better understanding of what an HOA is, the benefits and the amenities that come along with it, as well as some of the things to be cautious about if you are a buyer or seller. If you have any specific questions about HOAs or anything else real estate related, please put it in the comments below or send me a DM. And be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you next week on Coffee with Kelly.